The Colburn Bible, Mystery, History, and Revelations. Hello, and welcome to the channel, Miracles of History. Before we begin, please don't forget to leave your like, share this video with friends, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. Now let me ask you something very unusual. Have you ever heard of the Colburn Bible? Most people have never even come across this name. And when they do, their first reaction is usually a mix of surprise, intrigue, and, for some, even fear. It feels like you've stumbled upon a hidden door to a story that was never meant to be told. And right from the beginning, I want to make one thing very clear. What you're about to hear is not cheap sensationalism or an attempt to distort the scriptures. No, we are dealing with a book that, according to many researchers, could be older than 3,600 years. But here's the great question that makes this mystery so unsettling. If the Bible that we know today, preserved through Judaism and Christianity, is already about 3,300 years old, then how can there exist another text, possibly even older? And most importantly, what does this other Bible actually say? Does it confirm the truths we already believe, reinforcing the same message of faith and salvation? Or does it completely contradict what we thought we knew about God, humanity, and the destiny of the world? Today, I will take you on a journey through this enigmatic book, the so-called Colburn Bible, its origins, its structure, its most shocking passages, and why it provoked so much fear, censorship, and even persecution over the centuries. So stay with me until the end, because what you are about to hear might forever change the way you look at biblical history, and perhaps even the future of humanity. The discovery of the Colburn Bible. The story of this text begins around the 11th century, inside the famous Glastonbury Abbey in England. This abbey was not only one of the most important spiritual centers of medieval Europe, but also a place surrounded by countless legends, ranging from Joseph of Arimathea to the Holy Grail. However, it was also a site of great conflict. According to historical records, during the reign of King Edward I, the abbey was engulfed in flames. But why would anyone set fire to such a sacred place? The answer, some historians suggest, lies in the manuscripts that were kept inside its libraries. Many believe that among them was the mysterious Colburn Bible. Why destroy it? Because according to religious authorities of the time, this book posed a threat to the official faith. They feared that if it ever came to light, it could shake the convictions of the people, drive believers away from the canonical scriptures, and challenge the authority of the church. For this reason, it was hidden, suppressed, and nearly erased from history. Yet fragments survived, enough to raise questions that continue to echo to this day. The structure of the Colburn, unlike the traditional Bible, which contains the Pentateuch, the prophets, and the writings, the Colburn is composed of 11 books. The very first one is called the Book of Creation, and it is here that the narrative takes a path unlike anything most believers have ever encountered. According to the Colburn, before anything existed, there was only one consciousness, simply called the One. This being was eternal, self-existent, beyond time and space. At first glance, this sounds familiar, very much like the eternal God of Scripture. But then comes a shocking twist. The Colburn says that the One could no longer endure eternal rest. In other words, the act of creation was not born from divine love or a sacred plan, but rather from something resembling boredom or even frustration. Compare this with Genesis, where God creates out of love, purpose, and divine order. The Colburn instead suggests a universe born from divine dissatisfaction. This difference alone changes the entire way we understand the relationship between creator and creation. Adam, Eve, and the Nephilim. The Colburn also speaks of Adam and Eve, but not as the first human beings. Instead, it suggests that others existed before them. Even more surprising, it hints that some of these beings were not of earthly origin, but came from the stars. According to the text, these celestial beings mingled with the descendants of Adam and Eve, producing the race of giants known as the Nephilim. In the traditional Bible, the Nephilim are sometimes described as fallen angels or sons of God who took human wives. But the Colburn makes it sound far more cosmic. They were extraterrestrial visitors whose union with humans altered the course of human history forever. Imagine what that means. Humanity, in this version, is not just a story of spirit and sin, but also of contact with beings from beyond our world. It shifts the story from a purely spiritual drama to a cosmic saga. The Flood. When we arrive at the story of the Flood, the contrast grows even deeper. In Genesis, the flood is a divine act of judgment, God cleansing the world from human wickedness. But in the Colburn, The cataclysm comes from a completely different source, an entity known as the Destroyer. The text describes this destroyer not as a person, but as a cosmic force. Some interpretations suggest it was a massive comet, a rogue planet, or a meteor of unimaginable size. Its arrival brought fire, earthquakes, tsunamis, and devastation across the earth. So in the Kolbrin, the flood is not a moral punishment from God, but rather a cosmic disaster. Humanity was not being judged, it was simply caught in the path of a destructive celestial event. The apocalypse, according to the Kolbrin, perhaps the most frightening section of the Kolbrin, concerns prophecy. Because according to this book, the destroyer is not gone. It will return. And when it does, it will unleash chaos beyond imagination. Fire raining from the sky, cities burning to ashes, oceans swallowing entire lands, and humanity running in terror, with nowhere to hide. But what makes this prophecy even more chilling is the claim that the destroyer is not merely an object in space, but a conscious force, a being with its own purpose, whose mission is nothing less than destruction itself. This is the Kolbrin's version of the apocalypse. Not divine judgment, but cosmic annihilation. Is the Kolbrin true? This is the question everyone asks. And the honest answer is, we don't know. Just because a text is ancient doesn't make it true. History is filled with myths, legends, and human attempts to explain the unknown. Some researchers believe that large portions of the Kolbrin were written by Celtic druids, who added their own traditions to much older stories. So, perhaps the Kolbrin is a blend of ancient myth, local folklore, and cosmic imagination, rather than a revelation from God. The key difference: unlike the Kolbrin, the traditional Bible has been carefully preserved for millennia. Its words were copied with extreme reverence, protected even at the cost of people's lives. Despite being translated into countless languages, its central message has remained unshaken. The Kolbrin, by contrast, was hidden, suppressed, and nearly destroyed, precisely because it contradicted the most fundamental truths of faith. And this brings us to the heart of the matter. Faith does not depend merely on the age of a manuscript. It depends on its coherence, its spiritual fruit, and the way it reveals God's hand in history. Conclusion: the Kolbrin Bible is, without doubt, a fascinating and mysterious document. It blends cosmology, spirituality, and even hints of extraterrestrial involvement. It opens doors to interpretations that sound more like science fiction than sacred scripture. But it also reminds us of something crucial. Not everything that is old is true. Human beings have always created stories to explain where we came from and where we are going. So the real question is, does the Kolbrin preserve fragments of forgotten traditions? Or is it simply another myth, born from humanity's endless curiosity about its own origin? One thing is certain: the Bible we know today has stood the test of time. Its message has transformed billions of lives, inspired civilizations, and survived the rise and fall of empires. Its power remains unbroken. And you, what do you think? Could the Kolbrin hold a hidden truth about the past and future of humanity? Or is it only a historical curiosity, fascinating but not divine? If this topic intrigued you, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Here we continue exploring stories that challenge the mind and nourish the soul. May God bless you and your family. Until next time.